Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, my God, there's just so many great reviews to choose from. For example, here's a review from Wang Chung Double D. The review just simply says, please send nudes. There you have it, 5 stars. Short, sweet. Appreciate all the good reviews thus far. Guys, I'm going to be on the road. I am not just a podcasting queen. I'm also a stand-up comedian. Thank you very much. If you're listening to the audio version, I'm flapping my dates into the microphone. Very excited to announce I'm going to be performing at Hyenas in Dallas on February 19th and 20th. I'll be with the Comedians of the Compound in Royersford, Pennsylvania on February 26th. And then on February 28th, I'll be headlining the Stress Factory Comedy Club in New Brunswick, New Jersey. For all my Florida peeps, I'll be at the Lake Park Black Box Theater on April 30th. That's in Palm Beach. And then on May 1st, the Boca Black Box Theater in Boca Raton. Am I saying it right? May 7th and 8th, I'll be at the Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton, Wisconsin. And Sunday, May 9th, that's the Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City. Both those dates are with Tim Young, by the way. Very excited to go on the road this year. Got a lot of dates with Mr. Tim Young, which you may know from my, running around in D.C., causing domestic terrorism and such. And then for my Austin peeps, I'll be back in Austin with Comedians of the Compound, May 13th, 14th, 15th. Zany's in Nashville, May 19th. Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama, May 20th. And then Hilarities in Cleveland, June 3rd. And the dates keep coming. My God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see you guys. And if I haven't mentioned your city and you would like me to come see you in a comedy way, hit me up on Twitter. Tag the clubs that you like. I want to come see you guys. You know what else I'm really excited about? Our sponsor, One Soul. Dun, dun, dun. If you're a chick or if you know of any chicks, this is basically the perfect product. Sorry for my dudes listening, but this is for the ladies. One Soul is the original interchangeable sole that began in 2001. It's an interchangeable sole that you can change hundreds of different tops on. You just snap them off. They just come off in seconds. It's known for its comfort, and it's the perfect shoe for traveling because you only need one sole and a handful of tops. There are hundreds of different tops available, but One Soul is known for the comfy neoprene top that fits your foot like a glove. You can customize the tops, any photo. I mean, you put a photo of your grandma on these things. It doesn't matter, of your dog, of my feet, if that's what you're into. Any logo that you want can also be printed on here. It has been featured on ABC News as Best Product Made in America and was a season finale winner on Shark Tank. It is sold throughout the world and was created by a pharmacist, a woman, a female pharmacist, Dominique McLean Barteet. And I like this one here, this agave. This one's new. Hello. I'm interested in that one. For all my CMP listeners, go to onesoulshoe.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 25% off these bad boys. Check them out, guys. I would say this is great if you have a mom, if you have a sister, if you have a female in your life. Basically, like, these are the ones they sent me. Like, this is like a little corky sole. This is like a little going out thing. And this is like with the thing on it. Look at that. And if you're like, oh shit, these are kind of slutty, I'm going out to lunch with my boyfriend's mom, you can get them off really quick. Wham, wham, wham. Comes right off. She likes Trump. Great. You can just snap on the Trump one. Boom. You've got Trump shoes ready to go. Ta-da. I don't know. I like them. Anyway. So excited to have this guy on. I just did his show very recently. And that is he's the host of Adam versus the Man. He's an author. He's an activist. He is a homesteader. We're going to learn what that's about. He ran for president for the Libertarian Party? Is there nothing this man can't do? I don't think so. I think he can do it all. Adam Kokesh, welcome to the show.
Well, Chrissie, thank you so much for having me on. I doubt it, but I hope I can be as good for you as you were for me. That was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, I have some Trump footwear myself. But instead of putting his face like on top of the shoe, I put him on the insole so I can step on his face every time my right foot steps. And then I have Biden's face in my left boot. And then that way it's like the march of tyranny, the left boot and the right boot. But at least I get to step on their faces.
I would really personally enjoy some like Biden panties so I could just like shart right into them. I know that's gross and not what a lot of you were expecting. I'm bringing a lot of sexuality to the podcast, but yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people and I also, after I was done with your show, Adam, I looked through some of the comments and I realized, I don't know if this was nerves. I don't know what it was, but I feel like, I completely forgot to tell you like the whole story of discovering Larry Sharpe. Like, you know what it is? I think I'm used to people asking me how I got into conspiracy theories. And then because that's a story I feel like I've told over and over again.
I'm more concerned about how you got into the one conspiracy theory in particular, this dangerous idea that America needs a president and that Trump should be in charge of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know what crazy websites you're reading that could bring you to that conclusion. But I got to give like your audience a little caveat here for, you introduced me in part as a presidential candidate. I was technically running for president, but it was more that I was running against the office itself, and that my platform was the peaceful, orderly, responsible dissolution of the entire United States federal government in a peaceful, orderly, responsible bankruptcy, leaving us with 50 independent states and up to 562 sovereign native nations as the first step in localization. But I think this is the best lesson of where we are today, is that this idea of being tied together in a central government with all the disparate communities and diversity that we have in America, the more local government is, the more customized it is, the more it is in line with your needs, your values. Like already, Texas, like, I mean, how far into the Biden administration are we? And Texas is already like, screw this, we're out of here. And for the last 4 years, it was California going, man, screw this, we're out of here. And frankly, in Arizona, we wouldn't really miss either of them. But no,
please. Like if we all got a saw, like a hand saw, I think we would all come together in just sawing away California and letting it float out into the ocean. I would be thrilled with that plan.
That's a lot of saw work. I mean, America's penis, Florida. I hate to go bob it on you like so early in the podcast, but you want to cut off part of America. No, but the idea is that you get when we assert the fundamental right that human beings have to say, I'm not going to be forced into your political conglomerate. I'm not going to be forced into your empire, into your system. Like government, in order to be legitimate, must be by the consent of the governed, which means you must have the right to withdraw your consent. And I don't know if they taught you this. I don't know if you went to a government school for elementary or high school, but that's kind of how America got here. There was an empire, King George. They said, screw you, we're going to be independent now. And if they had the right to do that, why don't we have the right to do that today? Doesn't California have the right to do that? Doesn't Texas? Don't I, on my homestead, on my 10 acres here at the Garden of Freedom, where I will soon be known as King Adam Charles Kokesh the first.
Oh my gosh. Who is going to knight you? Or no? I mean, who's making your crown?
Well, I have a lot of fedoras. I think that's a good enough head start for now.
I could tell by looking at you that you have a lot of fedoras. You look like you're like a low-key guitar player. Like I could see you in a smoky kind of speakeasy being like, I just do this on the side, but really I'm king of the libertarians, or like whatever.
Yeah, this is like Ron Swanson. I'm secretly Duke Silver. Playing jazz sax on clubs on the Parks and Rec reference. But yeah,
God.
this is actually something serious that we're doing here with our homestead, and the plan is to declare our sovereignty on Independence Day of this year, and as a micronation, take whatever rights we can. And there's a long tradition of this in human history of people saying we're not going to be a part of a bigger political body. We'd rather be a community-sized unit. There are a few examples that I take as inspiration for this. One is Sealand. It was a British sea fort outside of their territorial waters that they legally had to abandon, and a group of people occupied it and have been more or less left alone for decades. And you got Liberland at the edge of Serbia, where they've got a slice of land that they're waiting for the other governments to get out of the way so they can actually move in and form a minimalist government that would allow them to be internationally recognized, but the ultimate libertarian society. And then there's some more humorous examples, like do you know the story of the Conch Republic?
Cock Republic?
Conch.
Oh,
I know.
Where is my mind? I mean, it's a Friday night, I know, but Conch.
If you wanted to secede and form the Cock Republic, I would not get in your way.
I was like, Cock Republic. It's like, yeah, I've been to Chelsea. I've been to an all-male gym. Yeah, I've been to Colorado. That's a a lot of dudes out there.
No, this is the Florida Keys, when the Border Patrol put up a Border Patrol checkpoint on the causeway connecting them to the mainland. They said, oh, you're going to put up a border? All right, well, then screw you. We're independent. We're the Conch Republic. And they declared war on the United States. And they had one of their little cruise boats go out and throw vegetables at a Navy destroyer. And then they surrendered. And it worked, though. And so they're still the Conch Republic for tourism purposes. And they sell all sorts of cool kit with that. But they got the checkpoint removed. It worked.
They'd be like, look, you guys, you can't call yourselves the Conch Republic. How about Banana Republic? That's taken too. Damn it.
There, right?
Yeah. I've never heard of such a thing. Like, it almost sounds like what you're describing is like kind of anarchy. And maybe I don't know enough about this stuff, but it's like, I didn't know that there were any places where folks could like declare themselves separate from the government.
You can do it wherever you want, because this is America.
Is it a long process? I mean, what do you need? What are the qualifications?
You speak it into existence.
Ooh, okay. So, wow. Okay.
How did the Declaration of Independence work? They declared it, and they said, "Hey, because we say so, we're independent now." And however you want to dress that up, for the air of authority. Yeah.
Wow. This is like, I don't know. This is so new to me because I feel like, getting back to what I was saying before, what I forgot to mention when I was on your show is that 2 years ago, when Larry Sharpe was running for governor of New York, I met him, I think through maybe my boyfriend's brother was like working for his campaign or something. That's how I met him. And it totally opened up my mind. It like blew up my whole world. And just through talking to him and just, I don't know, taking quizzes, but mostly through just like talking to Larry, I realized like, oh my God, like I'm a libertarian. He'd be like, yeah, if you believe in this and this, but you're social, you're like liberal on social issues and this and this. And I was like, yeah, that does sound like where I'm at. And it was weird because I was like, it just was strange because I was more so attached, I guess, to being like a liberal or a Democrat. And but things change, and I was like, wow, I guess I'm a libertarian. Shit. And I totally forgot to like officially mention that on your show, which would have been helpful.
Check. Yeah. Well, join the party, sign the pledge, and then we'll teach you the secret handshake. But one of my favorite, of course, it's really not appropriate to be done in public, though. Just so you know.
Is it something with an L? Is it like this, and then you handshake because it's a libertarian?
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Ooh.
So my favorite Larry Sharpe quote is, you can be a libertarian is someone who believes you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you don't force it on anybody else. And this is like the ultimate embodiment of the ethics of libertarianism, that is the non-aggression principle, self-ownership. And there's this really dumb divide in the movement between anarchists and minarchists. People have different visions of like no government or certain minimalist government, but neither of them are really libertarians in the sense that both schools of thought represent some kind of central plan for freedom, whereas voluntarism, this idea that all human relations should be voluntary, is what unites us ethically as libertarians. And what that says is, like the Larry Sharpe quote, you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want as long as you don't force it on anybody. And so you can have government as big or as small as you want, as long as you don't force it on anybody else, as long as it's by consent. And so a lot of libertarians get caught up in this, well, we got to have smaller government. And I say, yeah, smaller by geography. Have it local, make it small all the way down to the community level, because a community is, by definition, something that you choose to be a part of. It's a voluntary association. And so one of my talking points on the campaign trail was, look, if you're an ethno-statist, if you're a white nationalist, and I'm half Jewish and half German, so I'm genetically programmed to hate myself, and I can't have anything to do with this. But
you keep trying to throw yourself into the oven. You're like, why am I doing this?
Well, just half. By the way, I am Jewish where it counts in the wallet.
So boy, his wallet is circumcised, everyone.
So no, the idea that you could have an ethno-state, I think that's repulsive. But if you do it in adherence with ethical principles, you're not forcing anybody. It's just a dumb idea, but it's not unethical, except that you're limiting who you associate with. I'm never going to live there, but I want you to have that right. And then I go to the flip side and say, if you're a gun-grabbing socialist and you want to live in a nudist commune in the woods, like, that's great.
That should be available. Yeah.
I'll take my entertainment value from a distance, but you should have the right to form that community. And
aren't they already doing it? Aren't they already doing it? Like, isn't there like a Black-only community being formed somewhere? Like, I was hearing about this over the summer.
There is actually in Georgia. There's a homestead that they're making. I think it's a relatively small, like 40 acres, but a significant community there. But there are lots of examples of this. Ted Kaczynski's a great one, but you don't hear of him being championed as, a great example of homesteading and living off grid. But there's a movement of people who are doing this now and effectively living it. It's one of the things I really love about this community here in Juniper Wood Ranch. And I got to say, I really want to encourage everybody, if anybody's listening, you're kind of new to these ideas. And it's not just, living off grid. For me, that's a big part of it. The American dream means buying a naked piece of land and building a homestead, your own little personal paradise from the ground up. And that's what we're doing here. Here in this community, it's a 120,000 acre ranch that's being parceled out in 40 and 10 acre pieces mostly. And it's a great community of people living liberty, not necessarily, screaming about it on a dumb podcast every day, but embodying the values of and
walking the walk.
But it doesn't have to be rural. It's just that if you live in a city, it's much more difficult to sort of check out of the matrix, either, intellectually, emotionally, socially, informationally, but also more importantly, economically, because you're supporting an unethical system with all of your taxes, all of your tolls, everything that you do, engaging with the establishment that way. And so I dream of the day when we can have voluntary cities that aren't a part of this centrally controlled coercive paradigm. But we got to get past this. And like right now, it's the world is cut up into these big pieces, and it's America, and it's, you can't just redraw the lines on the map. But then it's us. I mean, it's the millennials coming into power right now who are going like, wait, we have to do things that way because it's always been done that way. There's a demotivational poster about how stupid that is. Like, no, we don't have, no. If we want to redraw all the lines on the map, we will. And I think there's a new mentality along with Bitcoin and blockchain, but of the internet itself, of decentralization and we have higher expectations. Why are we still doing it why do we still have a president? Do we need, can we stop and ask some of these fundamental questions and go, no, you know what, we need to rethink this. But if anybody wants to come out here and visit, my website is thefreedomline.com and my email is adam@freedomline.com. And that's
freedomline.com. I'm going to make a little banner.
All right. StreamYard's awesome, huh?
It is awesome. I feel like my own little engineer. I like it. I'm like very intrigued by this homesteader idea because to me, I don't know, it seems kind of like a long way away. Like, don't we need a president for somebody to like handle the military and deal with like international relations? And it's like, yes, we could all be farmers and exchange, and like you're saying, like volunteerism, go back to bartering, trading for goods and services. That all sounds really great. You know, kind of like communities helping each other out, bringing more jobs in like locally, like creating your own jobs. But like, what? I mean, what do you do with all the military shit? I mean, doesn't that leave us like vulnerable to attack?
Well, I'm glad you went straight to the bottom of the rabbit hole, Chrissy, because I got the answer for you. And I know this might blow your mind again, but when we said everything you know is a lie, I kind of meant it. And the idea that the military makes us safe is one of the biggest lies of government right now. And if you say that we need a military, you're basically saying that the founders of this country were wrong about national security. Because the founders of this country were against what they called a standing army. They wanted a militia-based defense because they knew from their experience in Europe that militaries defend kings and rulers. Militias defend free people.
Like a neighborhood watch.
What's it?
Like a neighborhood watch, like a little friendly block.
Not
cop.
quite. More like well, hold on. I'll get to it. I'll get to the answer at the end. Because the founders saw that standing armies represented a corruption of power inherently. And to me, you know, I was in the Marines. I was in Fallujah in 2004 on my combat action ribbon, and they tell us a lot in the Marine Corps that you're a warrior, and you know it's the warrior ethos. Well, they have really taken this noble idea of being a warrior and perverted it into being a soldier. And the distinction that I make here is that a warrior is someone who's willing to put their life on the line for what they believe in. A warrior is someone who is willing to stand up and defend the innocent and take whatever risk is necessary to achieve justice. Whereas a soldier is someone who kills for politicians. And that's what the military represents as opposed to the militia. But there's a bigger mythology behind this militarism that is really dangerous in terms and unexamined and a horrendous trick of framing and language, where we are taught from a young age that wars are fought between countries, right? It's America versus Japan versus Germany versus Russia versus Italy. Bullshit. Wars are not fought between countries. They are conducted by governments using violence to expand their protection rackets. And they can't get away with it like they used to be able to. I mean, the idea of a force-on-force war in the age of the internet, that they could convince millions of gullible young men to dress up in silly costumes and then meet in the middle of a field where none of them live to kill each other because they're wearing different colors. Just not possible in the age of the internet. And not only does having a military make you less safe in the way that I personally experienced, and that the global war on terror, as I'm sure you know, is painfully obvious by now, was not designed to be won, but to be perpetuated indefinitely. And now it's coming home, right? You're a terrorist because you were at the January 6th false flag.
Oh yeah, that was all my idea. Yep.
Yeah. Ironic that the supporters of the global war on terror originally under Bush the second are now going, oh shit, global includes where I live. But the thing is, because of what wars are in that sense, governments trying to expand their protection rackets, they only go after populations who are easily governed. If you're Afghanistan, you get to be the graveyard of empires, right? American Taliban, perhaps, but I think our militia might be even more effective if we really decided that we're not going to put up with anything from anyone, even someone from Washington, D.C., or a tax collector, or someone forcing federal regulations on us. So if you say that, we're going to have a military, what you're doing is taking the best and brightest of your population and lining them up in the equivalent of what the European warfare style was, of you literally stand line to line and then shoot at each other. No. The guerrilla warfare that won us the revolution is the answer to a better defense and making us unattackable, because there's no reason to attack a population that refuses to be governed. And so the answer to how do we defend ourselves ethically and effectively, knowing that having a military makes us less safe, it's to have a well-armed, conscientious population that refuses to be governed by anyone. And so that's the real answer. It's a tough thing when you have had military propaganda drilled into your head your whole life to go, oh shit, even that fundamental assumption I had about the world is wrong. Yeah, and if you're hearing this for the first time, you got to absorb that and let it sink in, and test it against the facts of the world and history that you know. But you're going to find if you really consider that and weigh that against the rest of your worldview, that explains it a lot better. And you think, what is the actual purpose of government? Keep the super rich getting richer at the expense of the rest of us. And militarism is a big part of that.
Yeah, well, anyone can see that. I mean, that's what's been going on over the last year. The big guys, the big corporations have been profiting like crazy, and the small businesses and the medium businesses, like the little guy, has been getting screwed left and right, like so badly. This is interesting.
Painful.
Yeah,
the wealth of billionaires over COVID. People want a lot of libertarians fall for this, like government's not working. No, it's working exactly as intended.
What do you think the Libertarian Party needs to do? What do they need to work on? How can they, strengthen themselves as a party overall? Like, what would you, if you were in charge?
Well, I would have nominated myself, and I do plan on running in 24 for the nomination again, as people still support this platform. And I don't want to say it's me. The Libertarian Party needs me to be successful. Let's have a cult of personality. No, it's really the opposite of that. And like I said, my platform is resign on day one. I'm not putting on the ring. I'm going to, throw it on the fire. Not my wedding ring.
You're getting divorced.
Yeah. I'm going to marry government instead. No, but we're gonna throw the ring in the fire on day one. And what I think is critical about that strategy that would the Libertarian Party could benefit from adapting. One is that it's an embodiment of our principles in a perfect way. It's not, well, here's our compromise and here's what we're going to do now. It's, no, if you give me this authority that is illegitimate, I am going to get rid of it. I'm going to destroy it, and I'm going to return to the people who have been stolen from as best we can. When we liquidate the assets of the federal government, they go directly to the people as much as possible. And that includes all of the land, which is half of the land west of the Mississippi is, owned by the federal government. This is us taking back what's been stolen from us. So a huge part of that is it's not just taking back the land and the materials, but the potential. And with I really do think decentralization has to be a critical part in this. I don't think my platform and my messaging is the only way. But one, the Libertarian Party needs to stand on principle, because that's what differentiates us from the other parties. Simple as that. And then we need to embody that in policy in a way that makes the American people or constituents at a local level a meaningful offer for change that will incentivize them sufficiently to break out of the duopoly, lesser evil voting, false paradigm. And we're going to get people, one at a time as converts, as people who are committed, who understand the ethical nature of this. But I think we're at the point where we have enough of a foundation. Libertarianism, as small as we might be demographically, is sort of well accepted as a mainstream concept. And I think while there's lots of incremental stuff that we could be doing, and we might never win an election, just so you know that I have this strategic who won the 2020 election? Drugs. That wasn't really a trick question, but Biden, Trump, right? No, they both lost.
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, there you go. Amazon won.
Bezos,
Tesla won. Bill Gates won. But drugs.
Dogs made out pretty well. A lot of dogs getting, adopted. It was a big year for dogs. Good for them.
So, now I need some more drugs to remember where I was going with that.
You were talking about
Oh,
decentralization and breaking up the duopoly.
well, that we might never defeat the duopoly. It might just be forced to give up chunks of the government racket and come our way one issue at a time. Like we are at now, I think the beginning of the middle of the end of the war on drugs. You know, the beginning phase was from medical and decrim, and now the middle phase is the acceptance of psychedelics and the complete decriminalization of cannabis. The end of the end will be like reparations for stoners and getting real about everything else. Excuse me for just a second. I gotta let a dog in.
Your dog!
Joe,
Oh, let's meet
where's
him.
JoJo? JoJo!
What kind of dog is this?
JoJo!
I hope he puts him on camera.
JoJo. Okay. Well, one of my missing dogs is back. One of them is still out there. It might be hanging out with the neighbors. I have neighbors who have a herd of 20 dogs here. It's
Oh
cool.
my God, I want to live there. Oh.
Well, hey, cool other little fur baby story here. Oh, by the way, this is Baloo, my 100-pound pit Dane mix.
Hi. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Hi. Oh, so
yeah.
cute.
And then my princess is in here, my wife's puppy. But she's Marilyn. Marilyn, you want to be on camera? Marilyn, come here. Come here, Marilyn.
Marilyn, does she wear a skirt that blows up over the subway grates?
Oh, yeah, she does. Yes.
Oh,
That's a
oh
good
my
girl. Look at this.
God, so
Look at this adorable face.
cute.
Yeah.
So she's like a yellow lab, something else? Or golden retriever?
She's like a lab wiener dog.
Aw, a lab wiener.
Yeah, like that sounds like it could go wrong in a lot of different ways. Could be taken the wrong way. Yeah.
So what you're saying is like, yeah, it's not about like just all at once, vote Libertarian because people are, I mean, I'm even guilty of it myself in the last election. Like I voted for Trump just because I was like, it's really close, everyone says now is not the election for that. It's like, oh, it's too important this time. It's like, you're not going to get huge swaths of people to just like transfer over. What's more feasible is like, right, chunking off it, like one issue at a time.
Well, what you're saying suggests that there's the potential for a breakthrough libertarian moment, and I'd like to, and I don't pretend that I'm the best candidate for the job. I'm 39. I'm being in independent media is kind of a limiter.
You got a great beard. You're good with animals.
Well, they say a politician with a beard is hiding something, and in this case, it's true.
Is that why Ted Cruz shaved his beard to run and then immediately grew it back, like double force?
Yeah. I think he looks better with a beard. In his case, the more of his punchable face he can hide, the better.
I picture him just constantly twirling a gun around and then putting it in his pocket and then wearing cowboy boots. Like every time I see him and he's not wearing a cowboy hat, I'm a little disappointed, which is every time.
Oh, it's like George Bush clearing brush at Crawford Ranch.
Yeah.
I actually clear brush. By the way, so let me plug something else real quick here. The Garden of Freedom, we have our own Instagram for the Homestead, for the Micronation project here. It's at the Garden of Freedom, and I have a lot of cool fur baby pics up there. And one of the fun stories is that we had a pregnant cat wander onto our property from who had been abandoned, we believe, from some neighbors who homestead ended in I want to say legal tragedy, but it was justice in a way. So, but unfortunately, yeah, this cat got abandoned and came to our place and then had 6 kittens. And on our Instagram, there's a video of her from right after she had kittens catching and eating a scorpion alive.
Wow.
And I think I have the only video of that on the internet. There are a bunch of videos of cats playing with scorpions and like messing with them, but I think I have the only video on the internet of a cat catching and eating a scorpion alive. And it's one of those, little
badass.
It's like it was a 2-inch scorpion, or maybe 2.5, like the little bark, but it's the little poisonous bark ones. And so now we have the scorpion cats of Gardenia. And if you go to my
Damn.
Instagram, you can see lots of pictures of them. There's one of them sitting on the hood of my mud-covered pickup, and I love it. Every day I get to go out and play with my kitties, and they're super.
Aw.
So the
And then
scorpion
if
cats of Gardenia.
just I'd be afraid it'd be like it would like spit a scorpion out at me. It's like from it sounds like from The Simpsons, like the dogs with bees in their mouth, and when they bark, they shoot bees at you. Well, this sounds like utopia. I'm a little jealous.
You should be.
Yeah, I definitely am. Okay, so let's go back to what you would change or how does the Libertarian Party like need help? Where is it lacking?
Well, I don't know that a lot of people take that mentality as libertarians because we're all a bunch of white male INTJ nerds spamming for Ron Paul from our parents' basements and struggling with autism. So we see
Wow,
this
what a type.
problem of government kind of like a Rubik's cube, right? And we take a very analytical mindset to the problem, like, oh, we just gotta, and maybe there isn't, and one of the things that I bring to the conversation around libertarianism that not a lot of libertarians get is a nice one, a rationally optimistic long-term view of human history. And Steven Pinker, Harvard professor, wrote the book Better Angels of Our Nature. I cite him all the time. And what he proved academically, and you can disagree with his interpretations as I do, but he proved academically that human violence is on the decline, over the course of human history, kind of following like a radioactive decay curve. And if you understand that freedom is what you have when no one is forcing their will on you, when you're not being subjected to external violence or coercion, then what we're talking about with the libertarian world is a world of universal nonviolence. Yes, we believe that you can use defensive force, but if you have to use defensive force, then somebody else screwed up, or
right.
There's something else going on. And in that sense, that's really what we're advocating for. And I see this as inevitable. The achievement of a voluntary society is inherent in the course of human progress. It is inherent to possibly the nature of intelligent life or life itself, where multi-cell organisms beat out single-cell organisms, all the way up to human societies that cooperate are able to outcompete human societies that are constantly in conflict. And government is force, government is coercion. Everything it does, as we know it, is backed up by a threat of violence or an illegitimate property rights claim. So, I could say, like, I'm going to be the king of Gardenia and have a proprietarian constitutional monarchy, but it's all based on the property that I claim. It's mine. I claim jurisdiction. I don't, if you want to be here, you're going to call me king, right? No. King bro. I think we figured out was what I'm actually going to be called on a day-to-day basis.
I can imagine you wearing a crown, but also playing like flip cup, or also playing like beer pong, like king bro.
We have a beer pong table out here too.
I'm not shocked. Yeah.
If we were doing this during the day, I'd give you a little tour, but the Instagram page is pretty good too. And I do a little business out here called Big Igloo Geodesics.
Ooh.
Yes, that's a Big Igloo. So I make geodesic domes. We got a bunch set up around here.
What is a geodome?
Geodesic dome, like the geometric triangle arrangement that forms a sphere, discovered by Buckminster Fuller.
Okay, that seems advanced. I want to get your take. What do you think of Vermin Supreme? Do you think he is good for the Libertarian Party? Do you think he is bad for the Libertarian Party? I have heard from a lot of folks saying that he kind of, makes the Libertarian Party look a little nuts. He, if you guys don't know, this guy, he wears a boot on his head. He's run for president, I think, every election since like the 90s or so.
Yeah. No, so first of all, let me reject outright that kind of bullshit, hand-wringing self-consciousness that a lot of us are prone to naturally as libertarians. And just quick sidebar on that, the first people to adopt a philosophy, an attitude, a worldview that basically says the current paradigm is illegitimate, the whole authoritarian power structure that we live with today shouldn't exist, is immoral and unethical, we're not going to be drawn from the captains of the football teams of the world or the
right.
heads of the cheerleader squads. We are the outcasts, the punks, the rebels, the round pegs in the square holes. But in a very serious sense, and a lot of us are veterans because we've seen the tragedy and the worst of what government's capable of firsthand. But in some way, we are mostly victims of the system. Really, everybody is to some degree at this point. And this is one of the things that I think could catalyze a libertarian moment, like victims of family law. How many Americans have either been through a bad divorce, been a child of divorce, or had a friend go through, or an immediate family member through some shitty CPS, child custody, whatever kind of experience, but
yeah.
or been arrested, or had an audit, or had a parking ticket that meant one less load of groceries for their family one month, and they said, fuck that. It's everybody at this point, and that could really catalyze it and bring us together. So this hand wringing. A lot of us are inherently, and it goes with the autism, and inherently kind of self-conscious. Why there's a lot of beards in the libertarian movement.
Yes.
It's not because we're great champions of divine masculinity. It's because we just want to hide our ugly faces. But
I mean, not everyone can grow a beard, Adam. My brother can't grow a beard for shit.
It could be both. So to Vermin Supreme, I love Vermin as a performance artist and as an activist, and the fact that he came into the Libertarian Party the way that he did and did so genuinely and as an advocate of our principles, I think he made a legitimate conversion. I interviewed him actually back in 2012 in New Hampshire when I was covering the Republican primaries there as a Ron Paul fan. And he really was sort of, more Green Party type. And that he has dropped the statist side of that. And it does go to the Larry Sharpe point. You can be as liberal or conservative as you want. And Vermin holds on to a lot of his, liberal values. But they're really just, to him, human values. And
to him, footwear is headwear, and vice versa.
Yes, and glitter all over your enemies is an appropriate accessory for them.
Yeah,
and free ponies for everyone. But he has come to really advocate libertarian principles consistently because he gave up the statism as the mechanism of how he wants to see his values carried out in the world, and has truly embraced the philosophical foundation of libertarianism of, you just can't force that on anybody. And so I think he's a great addition. I don't think he would be, I wouldn't want him, as our standard bearer. I don't think he represents the center of the party or the best way to reach out to the American people. And he openly said that he was running a joke campaign. And I respect his pitch to the party, that he said, look, hey, this whole system's a fucking joke. Let's be in on the joke. We're going to run a joke candidate for 2020 and just stick it to him and give people a chance to give a protest vote. And I respect that strategic angle, but I don't think it's as effective as what I'm proposing or somebody who can do that. I think you can do that and make a serious policy offer in a credible way. So I think for Vermin, like if I had won the nomination, I would have included him on my team. I would have done everything I could to make sure that he was part of that outreach. I hope he runs for the Libertarian Party nomination every cycle from now until the day that government ceases to exist, because as that team, it was great being on a team with him, and I think he's a great addition for the party as a whole. I hope to see more from him with the LP.
Good. I remember like what you said before, like not all of us were like head of the cheerleading squad, and and I was thinking like I was a cheerleader, but like I was a cheerleader, but like I was a base. Do you know what I mean? And like there's a certain like feeling when you're like a base. You're like you're not the little like 100-pound flyer. You're like you're down at the bottom with holding, with sneakers in your hands, and you're like, you have to be like the strong, silent type, and you're underappreciated constantly. So I don't know. I feel
Were you one of the strong, beefy cheerleaders? Is that
yeah, I mean, like I really didn't fully beef up until college, where I was a springboard diver. So if you can imagine just like a way more muscular, but very short blonde hair, and then also add adult braces, that I feel like my victimization came later in life, where a lot of people are awkward in middle school. Like, no, I was kind of peak hot through middle school, high school, and then college, where people are supposed to meet their husbands and like make a plan for a life. My parents were like, oh, she's getting a little too friendly with the boys. Let's slap some braces on her. And not even the like, and the orthodontist also, I feel like, lied to me, and I was very misinformed about the whole braces, process. He was like, oh, they're going to be clear, they're porcelain, no one will be able to tell, no one can see that you have braces. They literally don't tell you that, like, on your first cup of coffee, they immediately become stained brown, and they will never go back. They will never regain their white color. You have to wait till they're off. You have to wait literally 2, 3, 4 years, and then you can see your teeth again.
Well, I've just been waiting for Invisalign to become affordable.
Yeah. And I'm not wearing my retainer out of protest. So I don't know. I had okay teeth, and then I remember my dad's sister has kind of like a little bit of like buck teeth action, and he was like, I don't want her looking I don't want Chrissy looking like Liz. Sorry for listening to this, Liz. I don't think my aunt listens to my podcast. She is very religious and lives in Maryland. But yeah, and they're like, well,
sounds like your face.
Yeah. Yeah. I briefly wanted to be a reporter because I was like, communications major. I definitely want to move out to Alaska and try to be a reporter, and then eventually move my way as I get better. Like, then you can move back into a more like relevant city, like better market or whatever. And then I interned at Dateline, and I was like, oh, hell no, these people are horrible. And I just kind of wanted to be making the news and not just reporting on it. But enough about me.
Well, no, I mean, since you mentioned it, this is something that I cover a lot with Adam versus the Man, and I think I have pretty good credentials, in terms of an independent media career. I started Adam versus the Man as a radio show in Albuquerque because I ran for office. I ran for Congress as a Republican. But I'm better now. Don't tell anybody. No, I was endorsed. I was a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party at the time. But in order to be endorsed by Ron Paul and to have his support, I had to run as a Republican, and learned the hard way that it's not the leadership of the Republican Party is not to be trusted. Shocking, right? And crazy that I couldn't figure that out before running as a Republican.
Oh, no.
But I couldn't shut up when the race was over, so I got a radio show. And that was the start of Adam versus the Man on AM 1550 KIVA, More Positive Talk Radio, Albuquerque. Ooh. And after 6 months, and I was about to get canceled because I wasn't selling ads, it got picked up as a TV show with the Russians, and I was on Russia Today out of DC. And in 4 months, I got canceled there for being critical of Putin. And
wow.
There's a lot more to it than that, but that was part of it. And went independent with my YouTube channel and focused on that. Built myself up there to 250,000 subscribers and
wow,
over 100 million views. But a lot of them aren't even counted now because I've had so many videos taken down. Had to take breaks from my channel because I had strikes and wasn't allowed to post stuff. And it's really bad recently because according to YouTube policy right now, you can't say anything that questions the efficacy of the advice of the World Health Organization or local health authorities, even when they contradict each other.
Interesting.
You can't agree with one or the other because then you'd be contradicting the other, and they're going to take your video off YouTube. That happened to me even recently.
Whoa.
Like months ago. So if you look at my numbers on YouTube, it's really embarrassing because I still have over 250,000 subs, and I think if I wasn't shadow banned and I'd just been doing what I was doing, I might be somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million. But my views, like I'll go live and get 20 people, and you're like, I don't think YouTube's telling my subs that we're going live.
Maybe you need to wear something low cut. That always helps me. Like just a little something, a little something for the boys. There we go.
Well, I should mention I have an OnlyFans account. No, just kidding. But no, you can't. This is a new era of internet censorship and control of the conversation that it's I mean, I don't want to
Yeah,
say
it's
it's
really
scary,
gross.
but it's gross. It's weird. And there was this golden age of the internet where before YouTube was bought by Google, for
Mm.
starters, before Facebook got really nasty, before Twitter lost, before we all lost faith and our trust in Twitter to actually be some kind of legitimate free speech platform, there was a period where I was able to flourish. A lot of independent media were able to flourish, and now you really can't unless you're mostly in line with
Hmm.
the authoritarian perspective.
When was this? The early aughts? When would you say was like the sweet spot?
Well, let's see. I started my podcast, or first the radio show, in 2010. And I think maybe there were a few years before that you would count in this period where there was a huge audience on YouTube, and people were going to blogs, and the blogosphere was something. Remember, we used to, now it's just, oh, you have a
Yeah.
website where you post shit. It was the blogosphere
Oh,
back
a
then.
blog and a
Yeah.
vlog. Yeah.
Well, I actually posted my first video on YouTube, which, by the way, is up to 34 million views or something. It's kind of embarrassing that most
Okay.
big chunk of my views. Yeah,
Wow.
no, it's me telling a joke in a fighting hole in Fallujah, and it's actually a South Park reference. I had my Lance Corporal. You want to pull it up and just play it?
I'm pulling it
All
up.
right. YouTube.com/Adam Kokesh, sort by most popular video.
Ooh.
And so we've gotten screwed out of revenue, we've gotten censored, we've gotten shadow banned, and it why do they do that? Why does censorship happen? It's because the lie is wearing thin. It cannot
Good.
stand the scrutiny of light and truth, and so they are resorting to more and more blatant censorship. I think the censoring of conservatives is real, but it's kind of a smokescreen to hide the more important censoring of libertarians. So, all right.
Okay, tell me which video here this is.
The first one, top left there.
Haha. Here we go. Okay, come on. Why can't I hear it?
Sergeant, are you having fun? Well, it's not like going to the beach fun or making out with your sister fun. It's more like shoving shards of broken glass up your ass and taking a bath in asbestos stuff's fun.
Is this you?
That's me, clean shaven. Yeah.
Wow. And
Is that my
that's
suicidal dog? That's what comes up next on the autoplay? Not one of my videos? Gosh, thanks, YouTube.
this is the power of the shadow ban. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
We
well,
got
for some reason, that video is in all sorts of military humor circuits.
wow.
And you think in playlists, and you think it would drive traffic to my other videos, and for somehow they've cut that off. Although I do have a fair number of hits there, and it's a fun little catalog to peruse if anybody wants to get more into my work. That's a good place to start.
Oh my God, how embarrassing. I'm not even subscribed. Wow, I guess
Don't
I
worry,
could
it doesn't
not.
make a difference. They won't tell you where I'm at.
Wow. I know we maybe touched on this a tiny bit when I did your show, but what are your thoughts on Joe Jorgensen? For me,
I
it bothered
love
me a
Joe.
little bit that she was like, I don't know, still working throughout the whole campaign. Because to me, it's like, all right, I don't know. To me, it comes off like you're not as committed. But
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing about our candidate for 2020 was that she was a principled libertarian, and that if you were too, you could stand behind her in her positions unapologetically. The only criticisms bigger criticisms I would have would be some of the messaging stuff, but I'm not going to pick that apart because I wasn't there. And I interviewed her running mate Spike Cohen on our show yesterday, and I asked him, how many votes do you think were stolen from the Libertarian ticket this year, when
oh, right.
Democrats and Republicans were so feverishly stealing from each other and defending each other's votes? There wasn't really anybody there to defend the Libertarians.
Hmm.
And he says at least a couple points. I think he said 1 or 2 points at least. I think it could have been a lot more, but this year in particular it was a unique challenge for a libertarian to break out and get traction. And, I think there was an opportunity there. Spike said they did, anti-lockdown protests that just didn't get covered by the mainstream media. So what are you going to do?
Right.
And, my sort of criticism of Joe and Spike is they didn't figure out the magic formula to solve the Rubik's Cube in 2020. Okay, but they were both great candidates. They were both hardworking candidates, and they both were on, to me, what's important is, the principled message.
Okay. There's been talk of possibly a Patriot Party forming. Do you think this is going to be possibly a rebranded Libertarian Party? What do you think that might shape up to be?
Okay. Look at Donald Trump. Decades-long Democrat voter donor party supporter. He is the greatest trick that the Democrats ever pulled on the Republicans. Not only that, he is a socialist, he is a communist, and he's a fascist. And I mean that in the most literal sense by the definitions of those words. Socialism is a system based on communal ownership of property. Well, we have in this country socialized defense, social security, socialized infrastructure, socialized wealth. I mean, I could go on and on about everything the government has socialized. Fascism, in terms of the nationalism, I am happy to say that it generally in America, as fascist as this country is, and nationalist, it does lack the typical fascist component of ethno-superiority or racism, at least in its ideals. But Trump certainly embodied the core spirit of nationalism. As Mussolini defined fascism, it is the merging of corporations and the state. And Donald Trump said about COVID, don't worry, the restaurants going out of business will come back, just under different ownership. And you go, yeah, right. As if the Federal Reserve and the general system of corporatism and Wall Street weren't enough for people already. Now they're, Trump's just rubbing it in our faces.
It's going to come back, but it's going to be called Applebee's. You'll see. You'll love it. You'll love it. Or Olive Garden.
Trumplebee's. As far as the eye can see. I can't be the first one that came up with that, right? So communism, though. People throw these words around like they're just demonized terms without actually defining them. And here I'm going to define communism not just by from each according to their need, or from each according to their ability to each according to their need, but even more specifically by Marx's 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. And in this country, we have of those 10 planks, all of them at least partially in effect at the federal level, and the majority of them completely in effect. We have a progressive income tax, we have control of land, we have a fiat currency, we have control of education, we have an inheritance tax. These are all planks of the Communist Manifesto. Donald Trump did nothing to challenge our fundamentally communist federal government system, but merely perpetuated it. So to call him a communist, is really pretty mild, in terms of does that term apply to him? Absolutely. So I think that part of the function of the Republican Party is to be the fake small government party, so that government can continue to grow. And you think what does it mean to be a conservative or a Republican? Well, it means to advocate for slightly smaller government than the Democrats. It's meaningless in actual principle. And you look at how it's changed over the decades. Yeah, it's just really kind of gone along with the growth of government. Government grew under Trump too. You look at how much the federal government, it's not like Trump, the tax cut thing with Trump is a great example of the Republicans being fake small government people, because you can cut taxes, but if you keep government spending the same, the effective tax rate on the average American is going to stay the same, because you're going to pay for that one way or another. Whether it's through a direct tax, an income tax, a sales tax, or the inflation tax of them printing and borrowing more money through the central banking system with the Federal Reserve system and the US dollar, they can do that. So to your question about the Patriot Party, is there some real, genuine grassroots-based desire for this? Is Donald Trump going to be able to splinter the Republican Party? Not with a real, natural, organic divide, but if there are outside forces, if Democrat Party operatives are going to infiltrate the Republican Party, this would be something they would do. Oh, let's create a Patriot Party, and then people will break off from the Republicans to that.
That's interesting. I've never heard anybody explain it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. Because you're like, everyone's like, oh, Trump really changed up the game. Like he was so different. He was really like of the people. He was really populist. But it's like, right, he had the opportunity to like blow up a lot of these systems and he didn't.
No. And to that point, that expectation from Trump, yes, fundamentally what you said is correct. But I do want to take a second to be appreciative of what Trump did accomplish or what he meant for freedom. And I do think he was the most libertarian president we've had in a long time. But that's kind of like, being the least deadly form of cancer or the smartest kid on the short bus. And it's not because he deserves credit, but that government has gotten less vicious over time. And even though it grows, it becomes less capable of coercion and widespread violence and war, especially. I don't think Trump successfully bucked that trend. Even though government grew, that's more of the bureaucracy, the budget, and things like that. But one of the things like I'm tempted to give him credit for is changing America's relationship with the media. But it's one of those examples where you go, if he really gave a fuck about the truth, he wouldn't have just played it to his own benefit. He rode the wave. He didn't build the wave of discontent with America's mainstream media. That was built by people like Alex Jones and Cenk Uygur and Joe Rogan and me back when I had a fair shot at things on YouTube, And Trump rode that wave and acknowledged it. And he did some, support of independent media, inviting certain outlets to the White House that wouldn't have been there otherwise. But did he really say, let's stop paying attention to the mainstream media? Not really, because he kept attacking them. Instead of saying, let's build something new, or let's address censorship, or let's restructure the FCC to actually, get out of the way of independent media, or take on the tech giants in some meaningful way. But no, he needed Facebook to get elected. Who's Facebook's biggest customer politically? It was Donald Trump for ads and stuff. There, at least at certain periods. I don't know if that was true throughout 2020. So, yeah, with that, I want to give him credit for destabilizing the system. But even there's a counter narrative of the establishment. Let us have a reality show president in 2016 so it could go really bad for 4 years. And they're going to say, see, you should have trusted a professional politician with the most important political job in the country. And we're going to have even-handed, even-keeled leadership with a stiff upper lip and gray hair and old party credentials running this country from now on. And you go, shit, maybe Trump, reinforced that. And that,
okay. Ew. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because he could have, it was a lot of just taking a lot of shots at the mainstream media. And then eventually, was he taking shots at Fox towards the end? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
And he had the power to be like, no, how about let's focus on what we should focus on instead of like just taking shots at the MSM. And
it's just one of those things, 4 years, no excuses, bullshit. And like with the pardons too, who did he pardon? And I don't think the Blackwater guys being locked up doesn't serve justice, but he pardoned actual murderers who helped get U.S. troops killed by legitimately pissing off the Iraqi population. He didn't
really? Wow.
He pardoned the 4 Blackwater security guards. I think, it was 4 who were responsible for the Hamdaniya massacre that happened right around when I was there in 2004. I forget the details on that, but he didn't pardon Julian Assange.
Right.
He didn't pardon Ed Snowden. He didn't pardon Ross Ulbricht.
Who is he?
The creator of the Silk Road.
What's the Silk Road? Oh, God. I don't know
Silk
anything.
Road is where you buy drugs with Bitcoin on the internet.
Oh, to me, it sounds like a waxing salon. The Silk Road.
That's the Happy Trail. Close though.
That's interesting. Oh man. Okay. I want to like tie this up with a neat little bow. I think I ask this question a lot of guests who talk about subjects that we talk about, but like, if somebody's thinking like, I don't know where to begin. I'm jazzed about the things Adam is talking about. I want to kind of live a little bit more independently, but maybe they do live like in a city or in a suburb. Like, what steps can the average person take to, maybe they're not ready to like own 20 dogs in an open field. That's what I want. But like, what are some like, I don't know, beginner moves?
I'm so glad you asked. And if people want to go peruse my YouTube channel, start with the most popular or some of the recent podcasts. We are live 9 to 11, Monday through Friday, adamversustheman.com. One way or another, it's ported over there, whatever channel or outlet we're streaming on. It'll be at adamversustheman.com. And you can find my YouTube channel and everything else through there. But the book, Freedom, I wrote this to be the ultimate primer, and it's free in every digital format possible to freedomline.com. And if you're saying, like, really, where do you start? I mean, there's one thing that if you're asking that question, you've already successfully done.
Woohoo!
Yeah, congratulations. Step one complete.
Made it.
It's reorient your mindset to take charge of your own life and your own understanding of the world, and not just accept what you're told without question. To not live by the expectations of others. And by simply asking that question, you're saying, I am willing to challenge everything about my paradigm, about my worldview, everything I know. And that's really important. But there is one immediate thing following that I think a lot of people miss. And again, one of the things that I bring to the conversation around freedom that is kind of unique, that is most valuable. If I could give you one thing, it wouldn't be an understanding of the philosophy or political history or how technology is going to make a government obsolete and take us to the inevitable future of an ethical, voluntary, nonviolent society where the whole human family lives in harmony. No, none of those things. It would be emotional freedom. And this is the section of the book that I started writing when I was in jail in 2014 for the shotgun.
You were in jail? What a bad boy.
I've been arrested more times than I can count, literally. It's somewhere between 100 and 150 arrests for civil disobedience. And the longest I did in jail was 4 months. I've done a couple weeks, weekends, a handful of overnights, and a lot of quick detentions at protests.
Do you have any prison? Do you have any prison tats?
Kind of. If I didn't get it in prison. But if you think that, like I came up with the idea for the book when I was in prison, I have this logo.
What about like an eagle raping a donkey and an elephant? I don't know.
I like it. That'll be my next one. I don't
like
have
a back piece.
I have a portrait of Roger Stone on my right butt cheek.
Really?
But the eagle raping the donkey and the elephant would be like a really appropriate companion piece for the left. No,
the eagle is like pushing the donkey's head down. That's terrible.
I have the Freedom logo across my back, like full size.
Really? That piece. Just what's on your notebook?
That.
Wow.
Like, it's a lot of black ink.
That sounds like a lot.
I got this when I was in the Marine Corps. And you might think that this stands for, do you know what this stands for?
United States Marine Corps?
No, you suck my cock. You were close, though.
Okay.
And then it says, this is a quote from a Marine who died in Vietnam, allegedly. For those who fight for it, life has a special flavor. The protected never know. And then I got this for Iraq veterans against the war. And the Jimi Hendrix, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know. Then I have a memorial tattoo. It says, "Some gave all for nothing," with the memorial and the Iraq profile of the borders of the country.
Wow.
But when I was in jail, I felt like I had such a great sense of purpose when I was in there. And even when I was in solitary, whenever guards would come by my cell, I would always, because they kind of, if you've never been in jail, like they kind of have to respond to you. And I was put in solitary because I had a high profile case, for my own protection. So the guards were like pretty attentive to me. And anytime I call, I'd see them walking for checks. I'd call them over to my cell. And I was like, this is crazy. These motherfuckers, they're all miserable. They hate their government jobs, most like in there. And I'm sitting here on the inside and I'm happy. And I would call him over to my door, and through the little window slot, I would say, can I tell you something? Can you come here? I need to tell you something. And they'd get it. What is it? What is it? You're a free, beautiful, independent human being, and you should never let anyone tell you otherwise. And some of them took it well and were like, yeah, all right. But, some of them were just like, oh, that was a wonderful compliment. Thank you very much. A lot of black woman, Southern DC charm there. But there were a lot of guys who, were kind of reluctantly acknowledging the reality that I was pointing out. Oh, shit, you're right. I'm not living that, am I?
Wow.
And I wrote a section in the book called Happiness Causes Freedom and a section called Emotional Slavery. And the idea is that you're an animal, right? You're not going to change that. You will always have responses to stimuli that are beyond your control. You can't control, like someone might hurt you and cause you pain or trigger some emotional anger or sadness or fear even.
Or like if there's a shoe sale, like I can't control how I react to that.
Shoes with Trump on the toes, right?
God.
So you, but what you control as a conscientious human being, and this is the gift of human consciousness, is that you have the ability to choose your response to the reaction. And that's emotional freedom. And they want to beat that out of you. They want to condition you to live in a state of fear because it's easier to control you.
Wow.
And it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to have this response, but then I'm going to reclaim my emotional sovereignty, the sovereignty over my mind. What's the point of being free on the outside if you don't know how to be free and choose happiness on the inside?
Like we're all those little baby elephants that are like tethered to the pole, and it's like you're a grown-ass elephant. You could walk right out of this.
No one has ever made that comparison to this point, but it is very apt to say that the general social conditioning of the world we live in today is puts a shackle on your brain.
And you're in a circus. You're like in a freaking circus. Yeah.
And a lot of it is living by the expectations of others. And so there's a section here on health freedom. And that's a big one, is that, trust the doctors, trust the authorities, trust the World Health Organization, trust the CDC. Don't think for yourself and do research based on your own body.
Don't have common sense. Yeah.
Especially important for women, because in a lot of ways that pharmaceuticals look at studies, women are just men with hormones. I'm quoting somebody who was involved in a lot of those studies. And it's like, no, you really got to do the research for yourself, not just as a woman or as someone who wasn't in the studies for that drug, but as a human being. We're all unique. We all have a unique body chemistry. We all share certain fundamental qualities that unite us as human beings. But the most important one is that you're an independent consciousness, capable of critical thinking, capable of choosing your attitude and your mindset. So if you want to put a bow on this, I'll just read the last paragraph real quick.
Yes. And what's the name of this book again?
Oh, did you forget
Freedom.
the name of the book? I'm going to make sure that you remember it when I'm done. I don't normally do this, but since this is the wet spot, I think I can.
No, this is
off,
wet spot is my other show. That's my.
Oh no, it was on my calendar. I thought we were. This has been an extremely erotic conversation for me. Maybe it's just because I'm a libertarian.
My own natural what I bring to it. This is supposed to be my serious one-on-one podcast, but it has become sexual.
It's because libertarians are fiscally conservative and socially awkward. I mean, socially liberal.
Socially gay.
So emotional freedom. The greatest weapon against tyranny is a mind that refuses to submit to manipulation. If we want to be warriors for truth, soldiers for justice, and champions of freedom, we must first attain the discipline of happiness and a great capacity for living in love. Be master of your own mind. Choose your demeanor at all times. Never meet a fellow person with force or coercion. Strive to live by reason. Smile because you're alive. Remember, happiness is the ultimate act of defiance. And that's freedom. And so to end this, just for all of your viewers who are waiting to get on my OnlyFans. I don't know if I can
Man, if you're listening to this on the audio only version, you're missing out so much right now. We have a shirt being taken off. Oh my God, that is some piece. And by piece, I mean back piece tattoo. Wow. That's a lot to put sunblock on at the pool.
Yeah, it was 14 hours, 9.5 hours of needle time. But I got it for free. It seems like it might be a bit of a luxurious indulgence for me, but I had a fan who read this book and said, he's a tattoo artist, and said, I like it so much, just to show my appreciation, I'll give you a day's work for free. And I said, well, buckle up, because it's going to be a long day. There's only one tattoo I want. But when I got that tattoo, I was the 5th person who got it. My wife was the first, and we weren't married. We were dating other people at the time when I released my book, and she was actually dating my printer. And she listened to the audiobook, and right away she got this logo tattooed across the back of her neck. I got a matching tattoo.
Hot. That is that would have been instant boner. I'm sure it was for you.
Well, I get to see it, when I'm looking at her from behind. And
yeah.
So in between her and me, 3 other people got that logo as a tattoo. Yeah.
That's really cool. I have some fan art where someone has drawn me as a mermaid, but that is wow. That's pretty amazing to get a tattoo. That's so cool. So she was dating your printer, and then how did you guys hook up?
We just reconnected, 5 years later, and we were both single.
Oh,
I was on the presidential campaign, so yeah, I won.
She was like, yeah, this he can grow a beard. He's got a big tat. We're tattoo twins. Interesting.
Like, we have matching tattoos. You want to get married?
Yeah, done. I really want. Could I have an autographed copy of your book? I'll buy it. Okay.
No, it's free. It's gonna have to be free.
Well, do I have to get the tattoo? I want to get a freedom. I want to get a freedom tramp stamp. That's what I want.
Well, so
I wanted to say, if you're back here, I must really like you. Freedom.
If you want to, wow. Yeah, freedom. You would be the first to get. It does look like it should be a tramp stamp. Right?
It does. It is a tramp stamp. Yeah.
You'd be the first to get it there.
The libertarian tramp stamp.
Oh, geez, where was I going with all that?
Something about my signed book.
Yeah. So we've got over 250,000 copies in print, and and you can get it on Amazon. We used to sell it on our store, but it's challenging fulfillment bullshit. And we'll get back to that when I release my next book, which is my war memoir. It's called Hot, Dirty, and Dangerous.
Oh my God, yeah.
How 7 months in Fallujah challenged my patriotism. And it's a lot of fun. Just it's a series of short war stories, and just the whole texture of my experience in Iraq in 2004.
That sounds great.
We tour, and people who read this book are uniquely ideologically motivated as a result. And the most common response is, oh shit, how do we get everybody else to read this? And so a lot of people buy boxes and give them away, or put them in little free libraries and things like that. And so we've got a kind of evangelical thing going here. We're thinking of doing the Church of Freedom as a federal whatever the fuck, so we can pay less in taxes, because taxation is theft. But until we get there, at least we can use crypto and gold and silver. And
yeah, I think buy a box of books, and then come Halloween, trick or treat, put one in their pumpkin. That's for dad, that's for mom.
I was thinking of hiding thumb drives in chocolate bars, so kids go, it's not a razor blade, but let me plug it into my computer.
They're like, what's on here? Porn? Yeah. That sounds great. Adam Kokesh, other than following you on Twitter at Adam Kokesh, Kokesh, and checking out thefreedomline.com, and checking out your show, AdamVersusTheMan.com, and buying your book, Freedom. Anywhere else folks can find you, follow you, support you?
That's it. Thefreedomline.com is really the main hub for everything. And, start with the book, peruse the channel. And if you want to get more involved, shoot me an email, adam@thefreedomline.com. And let me just say, Chrissie, it's been a lot of fun. It was great having you on my show. And I try to end every interview I do by asking the audience to be more supportive of the production, because what you're doing is independent media. You're not doing this with, mainstream corporate sponsorship because you're licking boots and towing the line for the man.
I am.
Oh shit. Well, if you want to,
they're more like slides.
if you really want to play the Trump merchandise game, I think I got you beat with a much more appropriate product here.
It's a toilet brush.
No, it's a hairbrush. It's a beard brush, technically.
Really? Oh, it looks like a toilet brush. Adam, I figured out what your next tattoo should be. It should be on your back, and it should say, "If found, please return to the freedom of garden," or the Garden of Freedom.
Actually, I am seriously considering the eagle raping an elephant and a donkey at this point. If someone has a good graphic of that,
a wing on each of them doing a head push.
All right. So what I was saying is, I've been doing this for a while. I know Chrissie's been doing this for a while. And we both appreciate the audiences who make what we do possible. And if you're at the end of this broadcast, you must have enjoyed something about it. If you're not going to share this episode, share something else from Chrissie and do what you can to be actively engaged, because that's what makes this possible. Support the sponsors, use the promo codes, share the episodes, donate on Patreon, whatever it is. Go to her shows, see her in person. Because that, especially, we're like, so I'm a comedian. That's still a thing? Yeah, even in COVID, that's still a thing. And that means it's all the more important to go to lockdown protests called comedy shows, especially when Chrissie's headlining.
Yeah, and it's all safe. All the laughter is 6 feet apart. It's all good. Adam, thank you so much. You were a joy, a delight. I can't wait to vote for you in a couple of years. And I'll see you soon. We will talk soon.
Peace.
Bye.